The Aegis Vanguard glided silently through the void of the Andromeda expanse, its sleek hull reflecting distant stars like scattered shards of glass. Commander Elias Kale stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the endless darkness that stretched before them. For humanity, this frontier was a new beginning. They had left Earth centuries ago, spreading to faraway colonies, building a network of civilizations that thrived in the empty reaches between stars. And yet, despite all their advancements, the galaxy still looked down on humans. It was not arrogance to say it aloud. Elias had heard it from the Valix themselves. The Valix, a race of beings who had long considered themselves the pinnacle of intelligence, were calm, calculating, and terrifyingly precise. Their ships moved like shadows, phasing through space with a fluidity humans could barely comprehend. And when they spoke, it was with an air of certainty that humans were fragile, expendable, predictable. "You're merely a human," Ambassador Vera had said when Elias first met her on neutral space. Her words were sharp, deliberate, and cutting, a statement that carried the weight of centuries of dismissal. "Fragile, predictable, soon you will bow or vanish." Elias had not replied at the time. There was no point in arguing with arrogance, but inside the words burned. He had lived long enough to know the truth. Humanity's strength was never in sheer power. It was in ingenuity, in unpredictability, in the capacity to adapt and endure when all odds seemed impossible. That day, he had made a silent vow, one that he would carry with him through the emptiness of space. Humanity would prove them wrong. The crew of the Aegis Vanguard moved with quiet efficiency, each member aware that this mission was delicate. They were not only traveling through hostile space, but also carrying the weight of human pride, the unspoken challenge that they would not remain insignificant. Lieutenant Aaron, the ship's navigation officer, broke the silence. "Commander, we're detecting an unusual energy signature off the port side," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed curiosity. "It doesn't match any known Valix or human technology." Elias turned sharply, moving toward the sensor console. "Show me," he said. On the holographic display, a faint, pulsing glow shimmered against the void, barely perceptible, yet it moved with purpose, almost as if it were alive. "Unknown energy," Elias muttered, studying the patterns. "We've seen nothing like this before. Could it be a remnant from the collapse wars?" Aaron shook her head. "Unlikely. That war ended centuries ago. All known weapons were destroyed. And even if something survived, it shouldn't be active, not like this." Elias' mind raced. There was one name whispered in human history, a weapon of legend thought lost to time: Red Hal. Stories described it as more than a weapon, a living intelligence, capable of learning, adapting, and evolving with its user. Some said it had been humanity's ultimate assertion of power, a tool that could stand against even the greatest alien civilizations. Others claimed it was too dangerous to exist, that its potential for destruction was unmatched. He had dismissed it for years as myth. But now, faced with this energy signature, doubt stirred. Could it truly be Red Hal, or at least a fragment of it? "Set a course toward the signal," Elias commanded, his voice steady, betraying nothing of the storm inside him. "We need answers." The ship shifted, its engines humming softly as it adjusted trajectory. The crew felt a subtle tension. Everyone knew the danger. The Valix were watching, always watching. But something about this signal felt different. As the Aegis Vanguard approached a barren, lifeless moon, the signal intensified. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Elias and Aaron exchanged a glance. "This is no ordinary energy," Aaron whispered. "It's intelligent. I don't know how else to describe it." Elias nodded. "Then we'll treat it with respect and caution." They descended toward the moon's surface, its gray expanse stretching endlessly, marked by jagged craters and fractured plains. The landing was smooth, the ship's weight pressing gently against the barren soil. Outside, the cold void pressed in, a reminder of the fragility of human life in this vast galaxy. "Teams Alpha and Beta, suit up," Elias ordered. "We'll investigate on foot, maintain communication at all times, no mistakes." As the teams disembarked, the moon's surface cracked and crumbled under their boots. The silence was absolute, broken only by the faint hiss of their suits and the crunch of rock beneath them. The energy signature grew stronger as they approached a crater at the center of the moon, its depths shrouded in shadow. There, partially buried beneath layers of dust and rock, lay an installation, ancient, worn by centuries, yet unmistakably human in design. Strange glyphs decorated its walls, glowing faintly with the same pulsing energy that had drawn them here. Elia's heart quickened. Could this be the lost workshop where Red Hal was built? Inside, the air was thick with the scent of age and oil, the remnants of human industry long forgotten. Machinery lay dormant, covered in dust, yet the energy signature emanated from the very core of the structure. Panels flickered to life as the team approached, responding to their presence with quiet recognition. Lyra, the ship's chief engineer, stepped forward, her hands trembling with excitement. "Commander, this is incredible. Look at the circuitry. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's alive in a way machines shouldn't be alive." Elia studied the walls, the intricate patterns, the strange energy flows. This could be Red Hal," he murmured. "But if it is, we have to be careful. We don't fully understand it. And if the Valix find out, they'll come." As if in answer to his warning, a flicker of movement appeared in the shadows outside. Sensors on the Aegis Vanguard's orbiting monitors picked up a fleet approaching at high velocity, sleek ships phasing through space, their shapes impossible to track. The Valix had discovered them. "They're here," Elias said, his voice steady but firm. "And they think they can stop us before we even begin." Inside the installation, Lyra had begun working on the central console, her fingers dancing over the controls as ancient systems slowly came online. The energy pulsed brighter, and a whisper in her mind, or perhaps the installation itself, seemed to speak. It was Red Hal awakening after centuries of silence. "Who awakens me?" the presence seemed to ask. Elias felt the words more than heard them, resonating deep within his mind. "We do," he said firmly. "Humanity, we've come to reclaim what was lost." The installation responded, systems humming with life. A light surged from the core, illuminating the room with a brilliance that was almost blinding. The crew shielded their eyes, feeling the power reverberate through their very bones. Outside, the Valix fleet prepared to strike, unaware that humanity had discovered something they had long underestimated. Elias knew that what lay before him was not merely a weapon. It was a partner, a living intelligence capable of adapting and growing with him. If wielded wisely, it could turn the tide of countless battles, perhaps even challenge the Valix themselves. "Commander," Lyra said, her voice tense, "the systems, they're connecting to me. It's learning, responding. It's like it knows what we're thinking." Elias felt a thrill of both fear and excitement. Red Hal was alive, aware, and powerful, and the Valix, who had always seen humans as insignificant, were about to learn the truth. As the first Valix ships entered the moon's orbit, a tension unlike any other gripped the Aegis Vanguard. Humanity was cornered, yet in the heart of the abandoned installation, Red Hal pulsed with energy, a living testament to human ingenuity. It was unpredictable, adaptive, and dangerous, and that unpredictability was humanity's greatest strength. Elias took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Prepare the crew. This is only the beginning. They think we are weak. They think we are predictable. But they have no idea what it truly means to be human." The moon trembled beneath the distant engines of the approaching fleet. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. And in the silence, the whisper of Red Hal promised one thing above all: humanity would not be dismissed. Not anymore. Elias looked at his crew, at Lyra, at Aaron, and felt a surge of pride. These were not just humans. They were innovators, fighters, and thinkers, capable of shaping their own destiny in a galaxy that had long refused to see them as equals. As the first shots of energy flared in the distance, signaling the arrival of the Valix, Elias' resolve hardened. Whatever the cost, whatever the danger, humanity would fight. And now, with Red Hal awakened, they had a force unlike any other, a legacy of their own making that could rival even the most advanced civilizations in the stars. The battle was inevitable, the challenges immense, but Elias knew this. For the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer merely human in the eyes of the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with, unpredictable and unyielding, ready to take their place among the stars. And somewhere deep in the installation, Red Hal waited, watching, learning, ready to act. Elias whispered under his breath, more to himself than anyone else. "They said we were merely human. They have no idea." Elias Kale watched the pulsing light of Red Hal, feeling its energy resonate in a way he had never experienced before. It was more than a machine. It was alive, aware, almost sentient. Lyra's hands hovered over the ancient control panels, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the pulsing core. She had spent years working on human engineering, but nothing in her experience compared to this. The installation responded to her touch as if it recognized her as a rightful heir opening systems that had not moved in centuries. "Commander, look at this," Lyra said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The schematics, they're not just circuits or weapons. They're algorithms, patterns, thought processes. It's like the machine is thinking." Elias stepped closer, studying the walls covered with glowing glyphs. "It's more than a weapon," he said slowly. "It's a partner, a reflection of human ingenuity, hidden for centuries because someone feared what we could do with it." The Valix ships in orbit had not yet realized the installation was active. Their sensors were strong, but they had assumed that humanity's detour to this desolate moon was insignificant. They did not see the pulse of Red Hal or the intricate patterns now forming in the ship's systems. To them, humans were predictable, fragile, merely human. Elias felt a chill at the thought. For centuries, humans had been dismissed, underestimated, treated as inconsequential. But now, standing in the presence of Red Hal, he realized how wrong that assumption was. Humanity was more than survival instinct. They were creators, thinkers, and innovators capable of feats even the Valix could not predict. "Lyra, what does it want?" Elias asked. Lyra hesitated. "I don't think it wants anything, not in the way we understand desire, but it's learning, it's observing us. It's analyzing our intentions." The energy from the core surged in response to her words, and Elias felt a warmth in his mind, subtle and almost comforting. Red Hal was aware of him too. It did not speak in words but in impressions, patterns of thought that suggested intelligence far beyond human or Valix capabilities. "Can we use it?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not yet. It's awake, yes, but not fully integrated. We can't control it, we can only interface. It will respond to guidance, not orders, and that makes sense. It's a test, Elias. It's testing if we are ready to wield its power responsibly." Elias' jaw tightened. Responsibility, that was humanity's greatest challenge. They had ingenuity, but they also had impulses, emotions, fears, and hope. Red Hal seemed to understand that better than any human could. As the crew continued to study the installation, sensors picked up unusual readings outside. The Valix fleet had not yet attacked, but smaller reconnaissance drones began to emerge from the shadows of the ships. They moved like dark needles across the stars, scanning for energy signatures. "Commander, drones," Aaron reported. "They're probing. They haven't detected the installation yet, but it's only a matter of time." Elias' eyes narrowed. "Then we must prepare. Lyra, how fast can we interface fully? How fast can we bring Red Hal online?" Lyra's fingers danced across the holographic displays. "Weeks, maybe days if we push, but the Valix won't wait that long. If they discover this place, we'll lose it forever." Elias made his decision. "Then we push faster, all hands, full integration. Every engineer, every specialist, focus on the core. Humanity's legacy depends on it." The crew moved with urgency, setting up stations, analyzing schematics, and deciphering centuries-old languages embedded in the installation. Red Hal responded to their efforts, opening new compartments, illuminating hidden control systems, and even projecting holographic displays of calculations far beyond contemporary human understanding. "It's showing us strategies," Lyra said in awe. "Tactical maps, resource allocations, even predictive simulations of the Valix movements. It's preparing us for a conflict we haven't even started yet." Elias felt a surge of hope. For the first time, he realized that human unpredictability was a strength. Red Hal was adapting to them, learning from their choices, and in return, teaching them how to anticipate threats that seemed insurmountable. Humanity's ingenuity and courage were now amplified by something almost beyond comprehension. As the hours passed, the Valix reconnaissance drones drew closer. Their sensors began to detect faint emissions from the installation, and Vera herself, aboard the lead ship, noticed a spike in energy readings. Her calm, confident demeanor faltered for the first time in decades. "They're hiding something," she said coldly. "Investigate, I want answers. If it's humanity, it doesn't matter. We will crush it before it can act." Back on the moon, Elias stood beside Lyra, watching as Red Hal continued to awaken. Its energy pulsed with a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat, a constant reminder that it was alive, aware, and powerful. "Lyra, if we integrate fully, will it respond to me directly?" Elias asked. Yes, Lyra said carefully. But remember, it doesn't obey blindly. It adapts. It challenges your decisions, your judgment. You won't be controlling it. You'll be working with it. And that's how it should be. That's what makes it human-compatible. Elias nodded. That thought struck him. Red Hal was not a weapon designed to dominate blindly. It was a reflection of humanity itself, adaptive, resilient, intelligent, and moral. It was the embodiment of everything humans had ever been, amplified. The first contact was subtle. Elias reached toward the central console, placing his hand on the pulsating core. A warmth spread through him, not physically but mentally, as if the machine was probing, recognizing, and connecting. Images, strategies, patterns, and warnings flashed in his mind. He could see through the eyes of Red Hal, anticipate possibilities, and feel the weight of centuries of human innovation distilled into this moment. "It's responding," Elias whispered. "I can feel it. It's alive." Lyra smiled, a mixture of relief and awe. "It's trusting you." "That's all we needed. If it trusts you, it will guide the rest of us." Outside, the first skirmishes began. Valix drones, small but deadly, attacked the perimeter, firing precision energy beams at the installation. But Red Hal reacted instantly. Shields flared, energy redistributed, and countermeasures deployed in ways that no human could have calculated alone. The crew felt the presence of the machine guiding them, enhancing their reactions, amplifying their decisions, and keeping them safe. "Commander, it's amazing," Aaron said, her eyes wide. "We're reacting before they even act. It's predicting them." Elias nodded, his mind racing. "Not predicting, Aaron, adapting. Humanity adapts. Red Hal adapts with us." The Valix drones recoiled under the installation's defenses, and the fleet above adjusted its strategy. Vera, frustrated, realized that their previous assumptions about humans being weak and predictable were wrong. They had underestimated the very thing that made humanity dangerous: creativity, courage, and the ability to act unpredictably when all else seemed lost. Elias and Lyra continued their work, integrating deeper with Red Hal. Every system they unlocked revealed more possibilities: adaptive weaponry, energy manipulation, predictive simulations of enemy maneuvers, and even tactical protocols that anticipated conflicts decades in advance. "It's incredible," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "This isn't just a weapon, it's a living archive of human potential. Whoever built it, they knew humans could rise above anything." Elias placed a hand on the console, feeling the pulse of the machine. "It's teaching us. It's showing us that we are capable of more than they've ever believed. That's why the Valix fear us. That's why they dismiss us. They cannot predict us anymore." Hours turned into days, and the integration progressed. Crew members grew more attuned to Red Hal, feeling its guidance in small ways: suggestions during maintenance, subtle shifts in energy allocation, even intuitive insights into tactics that had seemed impossible. It was as if the weapon had become part of the crew, and the crew had become part of it. Finally, a day came when Red Hal's core glowed steadily, no longer flickering or hesitant. Its systems were fully operational, its awareness complete. Elias felt a profound connection to it, a trust that went beyond words. He knew now that humanity's destiny had shifted. The first Valix attack fleet had begun to descend toward the moon. They were unaware of the full power now active within the installation. Their ships were elegant, deadly, and precise. But humanity had something they could not predict: ingenuity, unpredictability, and the living intelligence of Red Hal. Elias took a deep breath, gazing at the vast expanse of space beyond the installation. "They think we're fragile, they think we're predictable, but they have no idea what it means to be human." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "And now we're not just human, we're more. We're what they cannot control." As the first Valix ships entered firing range, energy pulses from Red Hal flared, shields strengthened, and adaptive defenses activated. Humanity's fight was about to begin, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would see what humans could do when they were pushed to the edge, and had the tools to rise above it. Elias looked at his crew, at Lyra, at Aaron, and felt a surge of pride and determination. They were not just survivors. They were creators, thinkers, and warriors, ready to challenge a civilization that had always considered them beneath notice. And now, with Red Hal awakened, humanity had a power that could not be dismissed. The Valix had assumed that humans were fragile, predictable, and expendable. They were about to learn the truth. Elias whispered, almost to himself, "They said we were merely human, but we are far more than they imagined. The void beyond the moon trembled with the first flashes of Valek's weapon fire. Their ships moved with impossible precision, weaving through space as if it were fluid, their phasing engines rendering them nearly untouchable. To the Valeks, humans had always been slow, predictable, and fragile. They had assumed that the Aegis Vanguard and its crew were nothing more than another obstacle to sweep aside. They were wrong. Elias Kale stood on the bridge, watching the approaching fleet. His hands gripped the console as energy readings spiked. Red Hal had awakened fully, its intelligence flowing through the ship systems, amplifying every calculation, every maneuver. The machine was alive, aware, and working alongside humanity in a way no one could have predicted. "Commander, they're phasing around us, trying to flank," Aaron reported, her voice tense but steady. "Our sensors show their movement, but their weapons are targeting blind spots in our defenses." Elias nodded, feeling Red Hal's presence in his mind. He did not give orders in the traditional sense. Instead, he guided, suggested, and collaborated with the intelligence that pulsed throughout the Aegis Vanguard. Together, human intuition and ancient adaptive technology became a single, formidable force. "Lyra, deploy countermeasures," Elias said. "Adaptive shields, adjust to their phasing frequencies, anticipate their attack patterns." Lyra's fingers flew over the controls, inputting commands faster than any human mind could calculate. Yet it was not her alone. Red Hal suggested modifications, subtle adjustments to energy distribution, predictive calculations that allowed the shields to move and adapt in real time. The first Valek's volleys slammed against the ship, their energy beams deflected harmlessly by the shimmering, shifting shields. The crew stared in awe. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as weak, predictable, and expendable. Now they were outmaneuvering a civilization that had once seemed unbeatable. Red Hal was teaching them, but it also relied on them. Its intelligence amplified their courage, their intuition, their unpredictability, the very traits the Valeks could never predict. "Commander," Aaron said, voice tight, "they're sending in strike teams, boarding pods. They want to take the installation before we can act." Elias' jaw tightened. "We'll make sure they don't get that chance." He turned to Lyra. "Prepare the defenses around the core. Adaptive barriers, kinetic dampeners, and energy field distorters. They're not just coming for us, they're coming for Red Hal itself." Lyra nodded, her mind racing with calculations. "It's ready, Commander. Red Hal's core is fully integrated with the ship. I can redirect energy instantly, anticipate strikes, and deploy tactical countermeasures in sync with the crew." The first boarding pods descended toward the installation, sleek and silent. They moved with deadly intent, but Red Hal was faster. Energy pulses flared, magnetic barriers rose, and the pods were repelled before they could even reach the surface. Elias felt a surge of pride as he watched humanity's ingenuity, amplified by the ancient intelligence, in action. "They think they're clever," he muttered. "But they haven't faced us yet." The Valek's fleet above adjusted, bringing in larger ships to bombard the installation. Energy beams streaked across the void, striking the surface with tremendous force. The ground shook and dust erupted from craters, but the installation remained intact. Red Hal had reinforced the structure, predicting weak points before they could be exploited. "Commander," Lyra said, her voice urgent, "if we don't move, they'll encircle us. We need to strike to show them that humans are not predictable." Elias considered this, feeling the pulse of Red Hal in his mind. The intelligence offered possibilities, showing outcomes of various strategies, weighing risks and consequences. Then he saw it, the one move that could change the battle. "Prepare the counterattack," he ordered. "We're taking the fight to them." The Aegis Vanguard surged forward, leaving the safety of the moon's orbit. Red Hal guided the ship through a series of impossible maneuvers, phasing in and out of space in patterns the Valeks could not anticipate. Energy weapons fired from the ship with pinpoint accuracy, striking critical points on the lead Valeks vessels. The enemy faltered, their confidence shaken by the unpredictable human tactics. Elias watched as the Valek's flagship wavered, its systems struggling to compensate for the unexpected assault. Vera, aboard her command ship, glared at the displays, realizing for the first time that her assumptions had been wrong. Humans were not predictable. They were adaptive, creative, and now, armed with Red Hal, they were almost unstoppable. "They're learning," Vera said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. They're using the machine against us. Inside the installation, Lyra guided the energy systems with the help of Red Hal, redirecting power to reinforce the shields, power weapons, and manipulate the battlefield. Human crews fired adaptive weaponry, each strike calculated to exploit vulnerabilities that only a living intelligence could anticipate. Boarding drones and attack pods were neutralized before they could even land, their phasing engines disrupted by predictive pulses. Commander, Aaron said, "They're retreating, their formation is breaking." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Not retreating," he said. "They're recalculating, but we're ahead now, and we're not letting them recover." The Aegis Vanguard struck again, weaving through enemy fire, deploying energy pulses that phased in and out of space, confusing the Valix sensors. One by one, their ships began to falter, unable to match the combined intuition of human crews and Red Hal's intelligence. Elias felt a strange exhilaration. Humanity had faced countless threats before, from the collapse wars to alien incursions, and had survived through ingenuity and determination. But this was different. Now humans had something more than bravery. They had a legacy weapon that reflected their very nature, adaptive, creative, and resilient. "Commander," Lyra said, her voice a mixture of awe and excitement, "we can target the flagship. If we disable its phasing engines, the rest of the fleet will be vulnerable." Elias nodded. "Do it, but carefully. We are not here to destroy recklessly. We are here to show that humans are capable of defending themselves, of surviving, and of winning." Energy beams shot from the Aegis Vanguard, guided by Red Hal, striking the flagship with precision that the Valix could not counter. Shields flared, engines flamed, and the ship shuddered under the assault. Vera's calm, calculated demeanor faltered as the unexpected human offensive continued to dismantle her fleet. Inside the flagship, alarms blared as Valix crew struggled to respond. Their weapons were ineffective, their strategies anticipated at every turn. Vera realized with a cold shock that her assumptions about humanity had been catastrophically wrong. "They are more than human," she whispered. Back on the moon, Elias felt the connection with Red Hal deepen. The intelligence was not just a tool, it was a partner. Together, they moved with a harmony that transcended ordinary command structures. Each decision, each maneuver, each strike was amplified, calculated, and executed with flawless precision. Humanity's unpredictability, once a perceived weakness, had become their greatest weapon. The flagship's phasing engines failed, leaving it exposed. Elias gave the order to disable the remaining vessels, not to annihilate them, but to force retreat. The Valix, once supreme in the galaxy, were learning that humans could not be crushed with mere calculation and technology alone. "They underestimated us," Elias said quietly, almost to himself. "They always do." Red Hal pulsed in response, a subtle affirmation, as if acknowledging that humans had proven their worth. The machine had been lost to time, hidden away because someone feared its power. Yet now it was alive, integrated, and fighting alongside those it was designed to protect. Humanity had not only survived, it had adapted and risen stronger than ever. The battle continued for hours, with the Valix retreating slowly, their formation in shambles. Elias and his crew maintained discipline, striking only when necessary, guided by the wisdom of Red Hal. The installation on the moon remained unharmed, its systems fully operational, a living testament to human ingenuity. Finally, the last of the Valix ships began to withdraw. Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe, feeling the surge of relief and triumph that came with victory. Humanity had faced a civilization that considered them insignificant and had emerged stronger, adaptive, and unbroken. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Commander, we did it. Red Hal, it's incredible. It's like it was waiting for us to prove ourselves." Elias nodded, looking out at the retreating ships. "Not just for us, Lyra, for all of humanity. They think we are fragile, predictable, and weak. They have no idea what it truly means to be human." Erin smiled, her eyes bright. "And now they'll learn." Elias turned back to the installation, to the pulsing core of Red Hal. The machine was quiet now, its energy steady, almost calm. It had guided humanity through their first confrontation with the Valix, and had proven that intelligence, creativity, and courage, traits the galaxy had long dismissed, were more powerful than sheer technological superiority. "They thought they could predict us," Elias said softly. "They thought we would fail, but we are more than they ever imagined." The stars beyond the moon shimmered with silent witness. Humanity had awakened something lost, something powerful, something alive. And in doing so, they had shown the galaxy that they were not merely human. They were innovators, survivors, and warriors capable of rising to any challenge. As the Aegis Vanguard rested in the moon's orbit, the crew reflected on what had happened. They had faced the Valix, survived, and learned to wield a power they had only dreamed of. But they also understood that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, mysteries, and civilizations that would challenge them. And now humanity had a force that could help them navigate, defend, and even triumph in the face of impossible odds. Elias looked at Lyra, at Aaron, at his crew. "This victory is ours," he said. "But it's also a warning to the galaxy. Humanity cannot be dismissed. We adapt. We survive, and we rise." The light from Red Hal's core pulsed softly, as if echoing his words. It had been hidden for centuries, lost to time, feared by those who could not understand it. Now it was awake, fully aware, and ready to act alongside humanity. Elias' gaze turned to the stars, to the endless expanse beyond the moon. Somewhere out there, the Valix would regroup, recalibrate, and try again. But now, humans were ready. They had Red Hal, yes, but more than that, they had proved the galaxy wrong. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and unstoppable in ways no one could foresee. And somewhere deep in the core of the installation, Red Hal watched, waited, and learned. Humanity had proven themselves worthy. They were not merely human. They were the beginning of something far greater. Elias whispered with quiet determination, "They called us weak. They called us predictable. Let them see what happens when humans refuse to be underestimated." The stars above shimmered, indifferent yet filled with possibility. Humanity had awakened Red Hal, survived their first great challenge, and in doing so had taken the first step toward reshaping the galaxy itself. The Aegis Vanguard floated in the silent aftermath of battle, its hull scarred but intact. The moon's barren surface, once trembling under the energy blasts and strikes of the Valix fleet, now lay quiet, dust settling over craters like a blanket. Elias Kale stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars beyond, his mind racing with the events of the past hours. Humanity had survived, humanity had fought, and humanity had proven that the galaxy could not dismiss them so easily. Red Hal pulsed softly beneath the ship, integrated into every system, a living intelligence that had guided them through the conflict. The machine was fully awake now, its awareness intertwined with humanity's ingenuity and intuition. It had been dormant for centuries, hidden away, feared even by humans themselves. Yet here it was, alive, powerful, and ready to act alongside the species it was designed to protect. Lyra approached Elias, her expression a mixture of relief, awe, and cautious excitement. "Commander, it's complete, fully integrated. It responded to us, trusted us. And we survived because of it." Elias nodded, a quiet smile on his lips. "Not just because of it, Lyra, because of all of us, because of humanity." The Valix had retreated, their fleet scattered, their flagship crippled, engines failing under the coordinated strikes of humans guided by Red Hal. They had underestimated the very thing that made humanity formidable: unpredictability, adaptability, and courage. They had assumed humans were fragile, predictable, expendable. They had been wrong. Aaron came up beside them, her eyes scanning the sensors. "They're leaving the system, but they won't forget this. Vera, she'll regroup, she'll come back stronger. But I don't think she'll ever underestimate us again." Elias' gaze remained on the stars, thoughtful. "Let her come. We've proven what humans can do when pushed to the edge, and with Red Hal, we're no longer just fighting with instinct and ingenuity. We're fighting with centuries of human knowledge, distilled into one adaptive force." Below them, the installation hummed with life, energy pulses traveling through conduits and circuits that had lain dormant for centuries. Red Hal's presence was undeniable. It had tested them, challenged them, and in doing so had revealed humanity's potential not just as survivors, but as creators, thinkers, and warriors capable of shaping their destiny. Lyra traced her fingers along one of the glowing panels. "It's teaching us too. Not just about tactics or weapons, it's showing us how to think, how to anticipate, how to adapt in ways we've never considered before." Elias turned to her, pride shining in his eyes. "That's humanity. We've always survived, always adapted. But now we have the tools to rise above even the greatest challenges." The first communication from the Valix came hours later, a calm but firm message broadcast across the void. Vera herself spoke, her voice measured but lacking its usual arrogance. Commander Kale, you have bested us this time. Humanity has shown ingenuity, strength. I underestimated you. That will not happen again. Elias listened, not with fear or anger, but with understanding. The galaxy had long dismissed humans, but moments like these forced even the most advanced civilizations to reconsider. He replied steadily, each word carrying confidence, pride, and humanity's unyielding resolve. Vera, humanity is more than you assumed. We adapt. We survive. And we rise when faced with impossible odds. You may challenge us again, but do not mistake caution for weakness. We are capable of far more than you can predict. The message ended. Silence followed. The stars above continued to shine, indifferent yet filled with infinite possibilities. Humanity had awakened Red Hal, survived its first great confrontation, and proven that they were not fragile or predictable. They were more. The crew gathered in the central chamber of the installation, the soft pulse of Red Hal filling the space. Elias looked around at their faces. Lyra, Aaron, engineers, tacticians, all who had worked tirelessly, who had faced fear and danger without faltering. They were not merely humans, they were symbols of human potential, courage, and ingenuity. Lyra spoke softly, almost to herself. It's incredible. We've always been underestimated, and now we're proving that we're capable of so much more than anyone imagined. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. And it's just the beginning. The galaxy will see what humans can achieve when we combine our courage, our ingenuity, and our determination. Red Hal is a legacy, a reminder of what we can become. The energy in the installation pulsed stronger, a subtle affirmation from the intelligence that had guided them. It had tested humanity, yes, but it had also recognized something profound. The very traits that made humans unpredictable, adaptable, and resilient were the same traits that allowed them to rise above insurmountable odds. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Humanity had survived the Valix attack, but the galaxy was vast, full of civilizations that might not understand them, full of challenges that could test them in ways they had never imagined. And yet, for the first time in centuries, humans had a tool, a partner, and a legacy that reflected their own nature, adaptive, intelligent, and capable of shaping destiny. Elias walked toward the observation deck, looking out at the Andromeda expanse. His mind was calm, steady, filled with a quiet determination. Humanity had taken its first true step into a larger galaxy, not merely as survivors, but as beings capable of asserting their presence, their intelligence, and their creativity. Aaron joined him silently. Commander, do you think they'll come back? Elias considered this. Yes, the Valix will regroup. They'll challenge us again, but we've learned something important today. They cannot predict us. They cannot dismiss us. And with Red Hal, we are no longer just reacting. We are shaping the battlefield, shaping our future, and shaping how the galaxy will see us. The two of them watched as the distant fleet blinked out of sensor range, retreating into the void. It was not defeat, it was acknowledgement, a recognition that humanity had proven itself capable of far more than expected. Back in the installation, Red Hal's pulse synchronized with the human crew, creating a rhythm of thought and energy that resonated throughout the Aegis Vanguard. It had been dormant for centuries, waiting for the moment when humans were ready to wield it responsibly. That moment had arrived. Elias felt a connection with the intelligence that went beyond technology. It was almost as if Red Hal understood the human spirit, the courage and creativity that had carried them through countless trials. And it responded in kind, amplifying their potential without overriding their choices, enhancing without controlling. Lyra approached, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the core. Commander, it's remarkable. We're not just surviving anymore, we're thriving. And the galaxy will notice. Elias nodded, a quiet determination settling in his chest. Yes, Lyra, humanity will be seen, and not as weak, not as fragile, not as predictable, but as a species capable of rising to any challenge, capable of shaping our destiny, capable of achieving what others thought impossible. He turned to the crew gathered behind them. Everyone, he said, voice steady and resolute, we have survived, we have fought. We have proven that humanity is more than what others believed. Red Hal is not just a weapon, it is a legacy of our ingenuity, our courage, and our resilience. and together we will use it wisely to protect humanity and to explore the galaxy we call home." The crew murmured in agreement, a mixture of pride, awe, and determination in their voices. They had faced fear, faced overwhelming odds, and emerged stronger. Humanity had been underestimated, yes, but that underestimation had become their advantage. Elias returned his gaze to the stars, thinking of the countless worlds waiting to be explored, the civilizations yet to be encountered, and the challenges that lay ahead. Humanity had proven itself capable of more than survival. They were capable of thriving, of rising, and of shaping the galaxy in ways that no one could predict. Red Hal pulsed once more, a steady, reassuring rhythm. It had recognized humanity's potential, tested their courage, and now stood ready to act alongside them. Humanity had been merely human, yes, but with Red Hal, they were something greater, a reflection of their creativity, intelligence, and resilience made manifest. Elias whispered almost to himself, "They called us weak. They called us predictable. They called us merely human. Let them see what happens when humans refuse to be underestimated." The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent yet filled with infinite possibility. Humanity had awakened Red Hal, survived the Valix, and proven that they were capable of far more than anyone had believed. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. And in the quiet pulse of the installation, in the hum of the Aegis Vanguard, Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had reclaimed a legacy, embraced their potential, and awakened a power that reflected who they truly were: inventive, courageous, and unstoppable. The moon remained silent beneath them, dust settling over the scars of battle. Yet humanity's triumph radiated beyond it, a signal to the stars that a species once dismissed as weak had risen. They had faced the impossible, adapted, survived, and learned that the greatest power lay not in raw force but in intelligence, courage, and the will to rise above. Elias Kale stood, looking out at the stars with calm determination. "The galaxy may test us again," he said softly, "but we are ready. Humanity is more than merely human. We are what others cannot predict, cannot control, and cannot ignore, and we will rise always." The pulse of Red Hal echoed softly through the ship, a steady affirmation. Humanity had awakened a power, faced its first great challenge, and survived with honor and intelligence. They were no longer fragile. They were no longer predictable. They were a force to be reckoned with, a species capable of shaping the stars themselves. And as the Aegis Vanguard prepared to leave orbit, heading for new horizons, one thought remained in Elias' mind, clear and resolute. They underestimated us because they never realized what it truly means to be human. And now, they never will.